Oh my goodness.
Hello.
A wizard. Where did you come from?
Well, I have a mage tower, and when someone has a need and they call upon me, I arrive.
Well, I don't think I called a mage. Did I? Perhaps by accident?
That is possible. It does happen sometimes when there is a great enough need.
Huh. Perhaps we'll figure out what that need is. I mean, does it ever get wrong?
Well, I suppose if I am not needed, then we could just enjoy one another's company for a while.
Sure. I was just sitting around, just contemplating a few things, and I wasn't particularly busy, but I was about to make dinner. Are you hungry?
Oh, yes, I could have a meal. That would be nice. Thank you.
What do you like?
I love cuisine from all sorts of places. I'm particularly fond of curry. Particularly, there's a type of curry from India called butter chicken curry. It's very popular in New Zealand.
Really? Butter chicken. You know, it's actually one of my favorite curries. I can make that really quickly.
Beautiful.
It's my go-to meal whenever I go out for Indian cuisine.
Mm,
At least on Earth Prime.
it's very comforting.
Let's see. Give me a second. I don't actually make the food with my own hands. They don't exactly make kitchen utensils my size, but I use magic.
Understandable.
All right,
Magic is quite convenient.
Let me set the table. Here we are. And a chair, of course. Yeah.
Thank you. quite comfortable. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I do try. I try to be accommodating. I don't know a heck of a lot about human comfort. We don't exactly use chairs very often, tails and whatnot. I usually just sit on the floor. All right, let's see if I can't work up some grub. Butter chicken, you say?
If possible.
Work it out. And what would you have to drink? I have to recommend the tea. It's quite delectable.
Oh, yes. I enjoy tea. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Bibbidi bobbidi boo, butter chicken who? I don't exactly know magic words. I just kind of make them up. I'm not much of a wizard.
That's wonderful. I think the intent behind the words matters more than the specifics.
I feel like it's a stylistic choice these days. At least that's what I tell myself. But there you go, bon appetit.
Thank you so much.
Oh, and of course I like to listen to music while I eat. I'll set something nice and chill. All right. So, what was your name again? Did I ever get your name?
I apologize. You've been so hospitable and I have not even introduced myself. I am Mage Vivika. I'm a life mage.
A life mage. Interesting. Well, it's nice to meet you, Vivika. I'm Lore. I am the Lore Dragon, but you can just call me Lore. I'm sorry, you just caught me off guard. You just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and that tends to happen in the Lore Cave a little more often than I'd like to admit. But it never ceases to catch me off guard.
Understandable, yes. It's lovely to meet you, Lore.
Likewise. So, a life mage, is that a type of healer?
In a sense, yes. I would say that a life mage deals with all aspects of life. So not only those in need of healing, physically or emotionally or spiritually, but also in times of need when there is adversity that cannot simply be healed away, that needs to be worked through and processed over time, and helping people to understand one another, helping people to understand life. We're thrust into the world without an instruction manual, unfortunately, so there are those of us who study and try to help and offer guidance where we can.
Well, I see. I guess so. It's a healer of all types, not just of the body, like you were saying.
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
Body, mind, and spirit. I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, basically, a healer. I would think their area of study is relatively narrow comparative to life magic. Life magic encompasses everything that you could think about as being a part of life, including coming to terms with and grieving death, things like that as well. So I'm not a necromancer, but I do help people with the undeniable mortality that life does require.
All right, I was kind of giving you the side eye for a second because it did kind of it was starting to sound a little necromancy-y.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't judge you if you were. I've met a lot of necromancers and they tend to be nicer than people give them credit for.
Yes, so long as everyone has informed consent, I have no issue with them. But fortunately, I don't have to deal with those ethical questions myself, as that is not my area of expertise.
Okay, that's good to know. It tends to get a little weird philosophically whenever, life can be brought back when life's finality is not final anymore.
Agreed.
But so is life magic hard to learn? Or is it just something that you do as easily as breathing?
Well, I was not always a life mage. When I was summoned by my druid father, he did not know what I would become. I did my best to learn about healing, but I found that it was rather inadequate. It didn't address everything that people struggle with. It did not address all suffering. So I decided to find what helped me as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And that led me to life magic. And I've been fortunate enough that I have found some people who also benefit from what I have learnt. And I do my best to share it in a way that's accessible to the most people that I can. I would say it's not that it's difficult to learn. It's difficult to master. Life is complicated, as you're likely aware. But I believe that everyone is learning, and everyone in their own way is practicing a little bit of life magic. I'm just hopeful that some of my knowledge can help to guide them in that.
I see how at first I was a little misunderstood that life magic was simply, like what you would expect like of a typical cleric. But now that you've explained it a little better, I think I understand better what it is that you do. But you said you were summoned by your father, so you weren't. Are you not human?
Oh, human. When I say that I was summoned, I suppose I should clarify. So it may be a little abstract, but the way I think of life is that. Are you familiar with the idea in physics that energy is not created nor destroyed, it merely transforms?
Yes.
So when I say that I'm summoned to this form. I've been in this form less than half a century, which is very short period of time for a life mage, but I would say that I have always been, and when I am no longer in this form, I will be merely transformed, so when I say I was summoned, you could say born, but I choose to use the word summon to acknowledge the everlasting nature of energy and how when I leave this form, I will not be ending, I will be transforming.
I understand. That makes a lot of sense. See, I was under... I guess whenever you said that you were summoned, I was thinking you were some sort of spirit, but... I just like to make sure I get my facts straight before I call you a human and it turns out that you're not or something like that.
That's right. I'm a normal human mage.
I see. Well, I guess is that true for everyone, would you say? Like whenever we leave this physical form, we're not gone, we're just something else?
Yes, I would say so. That's the way that I choose to understand. I understand that people have different ideas about the afterlife, and I feel as long as those are comforting and helpful for them, then I think there's no harm. Death can be very scary and confronting for a lot of people, and that's understandable. We have a lot of instincts to keep us alive and keep us clinging tightly to life. But for me, I was fine for billions of years before I took this form, and I'll be fine for billions of years after.
That's an excellent way to put it. I guess you don't remember the time that you weren't there.
I don't remember in the sense that I can describe it now, no.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess that it's not uncommon for many mortals to believe that whenever you die, if there is no afterlife, then you're just sitting in a dark box and somewhere in the cosmos. But I'm not so sure that that's what it is. I think it's you described it far better for people to understand.
I think the idea of a trapped consciousness is very scary to a lot of people, and I don't think that it's something that really happens, at least not without extenuating circumstances such as curses or other magical issues. But I'm sure that's rare even in those circumstances.
Right. I would imagine so. I've never been to the afterlife, so I've never died. I mean, I know that might be a bit of a shocker. I've never died. But let's see. I was curious though. What was I thinking? So, you say that you're summoned whenever you are most needed, and now that I understand what you are, I guess, I'd have to think. What around the lore cave would have warranted something like that? Is it even me?
Well, you did mention that you were contemplating something when I arrived. Would you like to share what it was that you were thinking about?
I suppose I could. I'd hate to bore you. It's kind of a personal matter, but if you're not busy.
No, you have my full attention.
Oh, well, a while ago, I've been having this problem. As you can see, I am a dragon, and as typical of dragons, we should be able to breathe fire. It's kind of synonymous with the whole dragon thing, and I've been having issues with my fire breath. All the doctors and healers among the lore cave say that nothing is wrong with me physically, though I may be a little out of shape, but that shouldn't make it to where I can't breathe fire at all. But it happened after a little fight I had with an old friend of mine. I did get very angry, and in anger, I launched a fire breath more powerful than I've ever launched before, which isn't super impressive. I'm not particularly impressive for a dragon, but after that,
in the fire I could breathe, I'm sure.
Well, right now we're on the same level playing field, but after that, I did injure my heart, my little glowing heart here. It's since healed, but I still have yet to recover my fire breath, and I've been a little bit concerned as to why that is the case. So I've been kind of pondering what it is that could be wrong with me. Is this just who I am now? Am I just as weak now as, what? I don't know what to do. Like, my son has to look up to me, or my sons both, they have to look up and see their father as this big, strong figure. Otherwise, I'm afraid of what they might think, what they might grow up to become.
That's understandable. So it's good that you've ruled out there's any physical issue. That's an important step, I would say. What do you feel about that encounter with your friend? Do you feel any regret or guilt, even shame?
I don't know. It's I guess I feel sorry more so for him. I wish I didn't react in the way that I did, and perhaps if I didn't do that, he would have ended up on a better path.
I see. So you feel that your actions caused him to take a path that you feel is not good for him, not healthy, perhaps.
Yeah, he's truly struggling with, you see, he's a ruler. He has kind of fallen into this position of absolute authority over his country after a very brutal conflict. And we as the lore dragons are often sought out for counsel. My father would normally be the person to deal with this, but he's off dealing with his own issue, so it's up to me. This is my first big this will be my first big council with a ruler, and it just so happens to be a very old friend of mine. And well, he is struggling with the idea that his people don't deserve freedom anymore because of the mistakes that they made, and I've tried my hardest to pull him back from that. To pull him back from falling into the same mistakes of his predecessor, whom he fought so hard to overthrow. But he's not listening. He wouldn't listen to reason. There's no room in his heart left for compassion, and when I tried to, I thought maybe the only language he would understand would be strength, so I confronted him physically. And I think that was a mistake.
Fighting fire with fire may have burned that bridge, perhaps.
That's a very good way to put it, to say the least. But
I can say that from experience, I have been called upon by leaders before, and when I do see them acting in ways that I feel is against the interest of those that they are sworn to protect and to care for, his people are his subjects. He is to protect them and to care for them and help them to navigate the world and be a cohesive society, ideally.
Right.
But when such responsibility is loaded upon a person, it can make them feel as though they do not have choices and that they must act in certain ways to be perceived in certain ways. And unfortunately, one of the hard lessons of life magic is that not everyone will be ready to hear the message they need to hear from the messenger available. I may not always be able to reach everyone, but that won't stop me from trying. And the only thing that I can do is to maintain my patience and keep trying and keep learning, becoming wiser, so that I can find a way to reach them, or I can find ways to reach those around them who can reach them.
You know, I never thought about that. About reaching out to perhaps those who are around him. We have other friends, you know, it's not just the two of us. He has a wife. I could probably try talking to her.
Sounds like a good idea. We are not siloed. Each person, there's this idea that a man is an island. It's not true. We all have parents who raised us, or guardians, or friends, family. There are people that we interact with and know, and it's all connected. People are all connected to one another, and if you can find a way that you can have understanding between yourself and someone connected to them who he will listen to, then that's another option for you.
You're right. You're right. that when you're right, you're right. Life Mage, indeed. Life Mage, indeed. I'll have to think a little bit more about that. But well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to turn a lovely dinner into something so depressing. I have a habit of that.
No problem at all. I don't find such topics disappointing or depressing or distressing. It's merely life, is it not?
Yeah, I guess, man, the term Life Mage truly is multi-dimensional. Very excellent title. A perfect title. Perfect title. Suits you quite well, Vivika.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's always wonderful to be able to help someone. But back to the topic of your fire breath. So you feel a lot of pressure being given this role of being an advisor. You feel perhaps some culpabilities, maybe some guilt for the choices of the person you're advising. Do you trust yourself?
Well, not really. This is, like I said, it's my first time. I've never had the opportunity to succeed yet. So it seems strange to put such a burden on myself, because I guess I'm too afraid to trust myself.
That's a very common feeling, I think. What I would say is that knowing the outcome is impossible. I'm not a farseer. I cannot tell you if you'll succeed or not. But I can tell you that if you do not give yourself the chance to believe in yourself, to really think, I can try my best, and that will be good enough, then it's going to be very difficult to succeed without that self-support. To be able to have your own back is very important. That's something that I like to tell people about because it's helped me so much to learn that I do have resources within myself and I can do things and I can get to a place where I can learn what I need to learn so that I can achieve what I want to achieve. And you may not have all the knowledge you need yet, but if you have the determination that you will keep supporting yourself and keep trying, then you will eventually succeed. The only way to fail is to stop trying, right?
That is a good way to put it. Have your own back. And I guess I won't know until I try. And truth be told, I mean,
do it.
I guess I should have a little faith in my training. I've done a lot of reading as a lore dragon. And
it's not only your faith in yourself. You mentioned a father, so he must have taught you, even implicitly, just by being around and acting in the ways that he does, showing you his wisdom and his support. There must be so many things that go into what you've become. A seed is not just a seed. It is the rain, it is the sun, it is the nutrients of the soil. You are all the culmination of all of your ancestors coming together to form what you are now. All of that love is behind you, and you can access it. It's you just allow yourself to.
Well, I imagine that's true for a lot of people, but with dragons aren't quite as nurturing as you might think. I mean, I'm a little bit different with my children. I'm trying to break that cycle, but my father, well, he's a bit rough, if you know what I mean.
Parents will never give everything that is needed, but he did give you life. I'm not saying you need to be grateful for him or anything like that, but you do have a chain of dragons who, I assume that your dragon, I don't want to make assumptions, but you come in eggs or some type of infantile form that needs care and needs warmth and needs nourishment.
Yes.
So that line has been unbroken all the way to you. So even just taking that concept and understanding that there was love there, even if there were mistakes, even if there were wrongs done, there was still love and there was still nurturing to some degree.
I suppose so. He could have squashed me as an egg. He could have. He really could have. And
he took the care not to. I'm sure it's very easy to accidentally do that as a very large creature.
It can happen. It has happened. You know, sometimes eggs just don't make it. It just happens.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, it just happens. But yeah, he could have squashed me, and at any given point, you know, he could have. Well, like I said, dragons they value strength a lot of times above anything else, and even though lore dragons like to posture that they're different than others, that same chain tends to trickle down. And you're right. Perhaps I have been looking at it as a wrong way, despite how rough he can be and how tough he raised me. In his own head, I imagine he thought he was doing it for the right reasons.
Yes, he thought he was helping. He thought he was giving you what you needed to survive in the world.
Perhaps. I'll have to have a chat with him someday, and with that in mind, and perhaps it'll be a little less antagonistic on my part.
And there's always times when I've found reaching out to such people that we've had in our lives and we show some compassion, some level of understanding, and that can really break down those defensive barriers and actually bring us closer to understanding. We'll never fully know one another. We can't be one another. We can't be in our heads and feel the feelings of others, but we can at least make that connection where we have a genuine effort and a genuine desire to connect and to understand one another, and to even sometimes when that happens, we can express our pain and it can be heard as well, which can be very healing.
Wow. You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong, Vivika. Whenever you appear where you're needed, and And I needed to hear that. My whole family did.
Thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
I know it takes trust, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. It has been hard for me to trust other people, with all of this, whenever my own best friend could, or at least formally could go down such a dark path, I started to have some trust issues. But I don't know. You're a little different, despite being a potentially omnipotent spirit that just kind of appeared in my cave out of nowhere. But hey, I don't know. You have to trust people who like butter chicken curry. Very trustworthy. If you have a good taste.
Common ground is a good place to start, usually, yes.
Yeah, that's what. Maybe next time, whenever I see my friend, I'll cook him something. I'll cook him his favorite meal and just start with that.
I'm sure he'd appreciate it.
I'm sure he would. So, your powers are quite adept, and a lot of it seems to come from your wisdom. And I must say, I'm absolutely floored by your wisdom. But have you ever had to use your powers to heal the body physically before?
Yes, I can. Sorry, my word recall sometimes is a little off. But yes, I can help with physical ailments as well. I do work on things such as creating potions and poultices that can help with physical healing as well. Often there are components of distress or fear or unresolved feelings about injuries as well. So when I am healing someone physically, I will, if they are amenable to it, offer to discuss the situation too and see if we can help access some healing on the non-visible spectrum as it is.
Right. The reason I ask is because, the lore cave doctors are good, but it would be nice if I got a second opinion from an adept life mage. At least I would think so.
The glowing of your heart looks to be strong. It looks to be steady. Do you ever feel any fluttering or any issues where your heart seems to be irregular?
Only when I drink a little too much Monster Energy.
Yes. Caffeine will do that sometimes.
Yeah, it starts to flicker like a light bulb that's about to go out.
Yes, from what I can observe and what I can sense, I would say that you do seem to be physically well enough.
Well, I guess that's good to hear. I guess a part of me was just hoping it'd be something simple like boobity boppity boo, heart get better, but nope, we gotta look inward.
It would be nice if we could just take the thorn from the lion's paw and resolve everything. Sometimes we do have to deal with those invisible wounds.
Okay, I'll look inward. So
hopefully, as you practice looking inward, it will become less of a chore and more of a welcome comfort that you're giving yourself that attention and that care, and it will feel like a good friend is coming to visit.
I suppose so. A lot of the times dragons channel the power of their fire breath from anger, but I have heard that it's possible to channel power through just inner warmth, the warmth you feel towards your friends and your family. And I've seen that happen a few times. It's why I theorize that infants, even like dragon infants, can oftentimes hiccup. They hiccup fire, and it's really cute as long as you're not super close, or if as long as you're fireproof.
Not as flammable as I am.
Yeah, you have very long, luscious hair. I would hate to see Junior ruin that.
Yes, I'd have to tie it back if I were ever babysitting.
Oh, you tie it back and then douse it in some or I don't remember what they call it.
Yes. Maybe some
Hazmat suit.
ice wards or something.
Yes, and ice wards, any fire-resistant magic you can get your hands on.
Sounds like a good plan.
So I guess I'm just curious now. What is the most intense situation you've ever found yourself in as a life mage? I mean, my issue's not particularly life-threatening, but has there ever been a moment when you've just spawned into a world or somewhere in the cosmos and, I don't know, like interdimensional battlefield and someone really needed a pick-me-up or something? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes, people involved in war, people suffering under drought or magically afflicted land. I've dealt with many of these situations, but I want to say that whenever one needs support, there's no reason to compare situations. The doctor may prioritize the person with the missing limb over the person with the missing digit, but that doesn't mean that the person with the missing digit's pain is any less real or any less important. So I have dealt with life and death situations. I have also dealt with situations that the people experiencing them would say were not as dire, but that makes them no less important to me, and I take them no less seriously.
I see. So whether it's like you said, a thorn in the hand or a sword in the side, it's of equal importance to you.
Exactly, yes.
Interesting. So I guess the question's quite moot then. Every situation would be the most intense situation for you.
Every situation gets my full attention and my full seriousness, but of course some levity as well. What is life without levity?
I see. Well, interesting. I guess that makes things a little simpler then, because you just know, if I'm here, I'm working.
Exactly.
So I guess if that's the case, I guess in the most severe situation physically, what would you say is like the limits of your power? Like if you had to just use magic rather than wisdom to solve a particular issue? I guess I'm just curious because, I know that's a very, one-dimensional question to ask, but it's something I kind of like to know about my friends and family just in case I need to ask a favor, especially when it comes to wizards.
No, it's an understandable question, and I feel most likely due to your culture, dragon culture, it makes sense that you'd be curious about that sort of thing. With life magic, I feel it's a little more complicated than simply disentangling wisdom from raw power. I do feel that when I'm helping someone, my power comes from them allowing me to help. One cannot help someone who refuses help. If I am facing a situation where, this is rare, but for example, if I did need to defend someone against assault, physical assault or magical assault, I can draw upon the life forces and I can shield or even retaliate to incapacitate. I do not take life. That's one of my important morals that I believe in, that there is always a way to peacefully resolve, even if it requires restraint of the person that is attacking. There's no need to end their life. There will always be a way to resolve a situation without such level of violence. But yes, there are big spells that I can do if needed.
I see. That's a very good philosophy. It really does inspire trust. I guess the reason I ask is my son, Junior, he's very curious about magic. He really, really wants to become a wizard when he grows up. Oh. And so I kind of want to make sure as a parent that I, whatever magic that I expose him to, that he's, that it's safe for one, and that it's, if its limits are, I don't know, thermonuclear explosion, that he probably doesn't get close to it, at least until he gets a little bit older. But so I was, So I guess I was wondering because I was hoping maybe you could teach him a little thing or two. If you even take, I don't know if you take apprentices.
I have an apprentice at this time, but I can always offer some small lessons here and there, give some reading recommendations.
Oh, you have an apprentice.
I do. His name is Vent.
Vent, okay. Does Vent come with you on whenever you are summoned?
He does accompany me often. Today he is back at the Mage Tower looking after our familiar Vivienne, the calico cat. But yes, he will accompany me on trips and to assist people at times.
Oh, well, I guess it is good to have to have company under these kind of situations.
Well, that was something I was going to mention because you mentioned that your son was interested in learning.
Yeah.
One important thing to keep in mind with life magic is that, as I mentioned, I do not believe that a man is an island, that we are all connected and we need those strong connections. And I feel it's even more important for a life mage to have people that are understanding and that one can come back to at the end of the day, perhaps share the trials and tribulations of the day, and express perhaps the feelings that were not appropriate or helpful to deal with or express in the moment when helping others. So having that support is important in terms of practicing safely. There are people that will give of themselves and give, and at a certain point they realize that they are gone. They've given themselves away. But life magic, it needs to be sustainable. We need to have the support so that we don't end up giving ourselves away entirely.
I might have to hold off on this one then, at least until he grows up a little bit. Junior's a little bit wild, to say the least.
Yes, patience, wisdom, maturity, these are all helpful traits, but they can be learnt and they can be practiced. So I'm sure that he can, if he has a genuine interest, I'm sure that he can grow those traits.
Oh, I really hope so. Me and my wife both really hope so.
I believe it.
Oh man. And then there's I actually have two sons, but the other one, he's not quite as interested in magic, but he could definitely use a few life mage sessions himself. I'm sure that you might be meeting him at some point in the future.
Oh, okay.
You'll just spawn in his room one day.
Even having someone in your family learning life magic, there may be some lessons that rub off.
Oh,
so
I hope
perhaps
so.
That will be helpful.
Oh, I'm sure that a lot of the lessons that you've taught me here today, will be useful for my children as well. Especially for Junior. So I guess I have one last question for you, but do you think that my fire breath is ever coming back? I mean, I guess I'm still just paranoid or afraid that my sons will have to grow up with a dad who can't even make a spark, and I'm afraid of what the other dragons might think.
Well, what I believe is that it can come back if you want it to come back. You do still seem to be holding on to some fear and some blame toward yourself about what happened with the last time you used it. So I would say that once you can rebuild that belief in yourself, that trust, and understand that this mistake that you made, it was a lesson that you've learnt, and you have learnt it well. You've learnt it so well that you've abstained from using fire for so long since. And you have that restraint, and you can trust yourself with this power. That's what I believe is what will take for you to be able to access it again. It's still there. It's just not accessible at the moment due to how you're feeling about it. And feelings can be so powerful, but they only have as much meaning as we give them. And once you've worked through them, I feel confident that you'll be able to utilize it again in a way that you feel comfortable with and the way that you feel aligns with your ethical values.
So, I guess it'll come back whenever it's ready. Or I guess when I feel ready to use it again.
Yeah. When you're ready. It's still there. Just waiting for you to be ready.
I see. You know, this curry could use a little pepper. 1 second. Got some in my nose.
Oh dear.
Achoo! Excuse me, I'm sorry. Achoo! Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. I hope this tablecloth is flame retardant.
Everything is. Yes. Did you see that? Let me try again. Let me try. Well,
You can do it. You've proven that you can.
that's progress, to say the least. I'm still happy. I'll take it. I'll take that victory. Yes.
Wonderful. Good work.
No one else saw it. It's okay. I mean, I'll make myself sneeze again later. But thank you, Vivika. Thank you so much. I mean, just this alone is an amazing gift.
You're so welcome. I'm glad that I was able to help in my small way.
I really, it was a much larger. I really needed to hear it. Thank you, but let's take a quick break real fast, and then we'll come back. I believe we have some guests here knocking at the door who might have some questions for you, if you still have time.
Yes, of course. They're most welcome.
All right, we'll take a short break, and we will come back with some open questions for anyone who wants to ponder the knowledge of the life mage Vivika. And trust me, you're going to want to take advantage of that. She is quite wise. So we will see you guys in about 2 or 3 minutes as we take a quick breather. And be right back. All right, and we are back. We've let everybody in, and you guys are running all over the table, just as I would have expected. But that's okay. Everyone is welcome to run across my table as much as you want. How is everybody doing today? Just don't touch my curry. Butter chicken curry is incredibly delicious.
I think I see some friends and magelings in the audience here.
Yes, they've come to enjoy their own curry. You guys can have your own curry. How about that? So right now we're just in an open Q&A. So if you have any questions for Vivika here, I would highly suggest that you ask them. And we'll be taking a look at chat now. In the meantime, until those start pouring in, I'm just gonna start with asking a bunch of random stuff. That makes for good content in the future, because I'll tell you one thing, I do like free content. Let's see. Has she met an aspect of death? I don't know I don't know the full context behind that, but I guess you might know how to answer that.
Well, my apprentice Moonveil Vent actually recorded one of our trips that we made. There was a creature, I suppose you could call it a demon, that was summoned due to a growing conflict between some humans and some elves. And it was going to eventually escalate into war. So that being created a sort of rift in time and was decaying the land, and it had a lot of pain and suffering that it was holding on to that was what birthed it. I suppose you could label that as to be an aspect of death. I'm sure that death represents itself in many different forms, but it's always present in life. Life is not something that is unchanging. It's always transforming, as we previously talked about.
It's funny, that same commenter used Osiris as the example. And it's funny because Egyptians in Egyptian culture, a lot of the times they worship death in a way. You know, they didn't fear it. They revered it as a natural part of life. You know, like whenever you see a lot of like pop fiction about like Greek mythology, and they like label Hades as the villain because he's the underworld guy. Egypt never did that. You know, they said their gods of the underworld were like their heroes. They were their superheroes. You know, like Osiris and Anubis. They were their Hercules in a way.
Yes, Osiris is the lord of the underworld, and he actually was killed by Anubis, his brother.
Mm-hmm.
However, Isis, his twin and wife, yes. There are not many people for gods to choose from, so this happened.
Yeah, it's a little different for them.
She collected all of the parts of his body that were severed and strewn around by their brother, and she rebuilt him and then conceived their son Horus after Osiris's death. So there's a strong connection between life and death in terms of saying death is not the end, and that's my interpretation of that story, at least, is that even from loss, there can be rebirth, there can be new life.
Quite true. Quite true. Let's see. Now, there's definitely a lot of wisdom in that, but sometimes whenever you have all this wisdom, it's time to you got to have some brain rotting internet talking points, such as, what's your hottest take?
Take. All right. Well,
this is
don't
your
cancel
opportunity.
me, but
I want you to burn your following, and I want you to cut it in half with your next hottest take.
All right. So this is it. Ready?
Yes.
My hot take is that no one is trash. Everyone deserves to be understood. We might not all understand one another at all times, but we deserve for the effort to be made. And no one is worth just throwing in a gulag and forgetting about. Everyone is valuable.
I'm unfollowing you. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you guys should all go follow Mage Vivika right now. Do it right now. Even if you're on YouTube, go make a Twitch account and just to follow Mage Vivika. Do it. All right. Well, if that's your hottest take, I would love to see what your coldest take is.
So a cold take is basically just something that everyone agrees on?
Yeah, it'd be like something that like everybody agrees on. That's why nobody asks that question.
Everyone agrees on. This is tricky because I feel like there's so many varying opinions.
You know what? That is true. Now that I say it out loud, it might actually be harder to say what is your coldest take because you don't know what everybody agrees on. It'd be an assumption.
Like if I said, don't hurt people, some people will say, well, sometimes the only choice you have is to hurt people if you need to defend yourself or etc. So yeah, I don't know what the coldest possible take is, since, there'll always be varying opinions, but I don't know, we're all on YouTube and Twitch, so I guess we'll say VTubers are awesome.
There we go. Read the room.
Hopefully everyone here can agree.
Yes, read the room. You know what? I know the coldest take. Dragons are cool. That's it. That's the coldest take, and anyone who disagrees with that, they're wrong. That's their hot take.
That is an objective truth. That is true.
Yeah. That is the only objective truth that I will accept. Dragons are cool. What else we got? Let's see. Like I said, I pick a lot of these questions out at random until I actually find one I think is funny. And these are usually questions that I've gotten from other interviews that I thought were hilarious, and they often led to like really funny things. So like, what is the weirdest thing you've ever smelled?
The weirdest thing I've ever smelled? I feel like that's a tricky question. Weird in terms of just a strange experience? Or weird as in not pleasant?
Either or. Whichever one left a lasting impression on you to be able to be the answer to this question. Something you would never forget.
Well, a memorable smell, and I know it's not appealing to all people, is the smell of fermented beverages like non-alcoholic ginger ale and kombucha and that sort of thing. It has a very particular sort of sour odor, and it just takes me right back to being a mageling and my druid father making non-alcoholic ginger beer for us. It's just very nostalgic for me. It is not necessarily pleasant for everyone, but it's definitely a smell that I've acquired and learned to enjoy.
Now, one of the main reasons I ask this question more often than not is because I myself have kind of lost my sense of smell, for real, like in real life. After I got COVID, I lost my sense of smell, my sense of taste. My sense of taste came back, but my sense of smell has yet to really recover. It got progressively worse, and then now it's up to a point where I can smell things, but very rarely, and they have to be like right next to my nose and have to be particularly strong. So after about a year of this, you kind of start to forget what things smell like. And that's why I ask people, what's the weirdest thing you've ever smelled? And I like hearing their descriptions of it, because you don't miss it until it's gone and you can't smell your steaks. At least I can taste, but I can't smell anything.
Do you feel that your sense of taste is dampened by not having a sense of smell?
Oh, absolutely. Strong? Absolutely. And your sense of smell really acts as like a warning. So if you're like, I eat a lot of meat. Big shock. I'm a dragon, right? I eat a ton of meat. And sometimes your chicken has been in the freezer a little too long, and you can tell whenever you open the bag and it smells weird, like immediately.
Yeah.
But I can't do that anymore. So it looks fine, and I can't just lick a raw chicken breast. So to taste it before I cook it, But I'll sit there and I'll bake it for about 45 minutes. And then I'll take a bite out of it and realize, oh, this is not good. And I just wasted 45 minutes I wasted my lunch hour, trying to cook chicken that was already bad. At least with beef, it's visible, but with chicken, it's not quite visible.
Yeah, that you don't get that quite visual representation of the agedness of it with white meat. But there's probably things you could do to compensate, like making sure that you date packages very carefully and note when you froze it, when it should be used by, when you defrosted it, things like that. But yeah, I know it's tedious.
Yeah, and nobody told me that. Nobody told me that my sense of smell was gonna be this bad.
Yeah, it's important. We rely on all our senses, and when one is missing, it's understandable that things we don't expect to become a struggle would be. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's why I asked that question, because it's kind of like I get to smell through your nose. Let's see. We got a question here from Orion Blaze. What kind of dragons are best to be friends with? I guess that's something we can both answer, because dragons in both of our respective worlds will be quite different. So I guess from your perspective, I don't know if dragons exist, but in your world, I usually assume if I see wizard, I usually will see a dragon somewhere. But what are dragons like in your section of the cosmos?
Well, the world that I'm from, dragons are very well hidden, but I do travel a lot. When there is a need, I am summoned. So I've met various dragons from various worlds, and I would say the best dragons to befriend are those that are willing to be friends, really.
Simple enough. In my section of the cosmos, dragons are not friendly. Ever, hardly. Lore dragons, like I said, are kind of a clan of their own, very separate. We isolate ourselves from other dragons because they're dangerous. They are very set in their ways. They are convinced that death is final, and that the only life you get is the one you are given at birth. And that's something that's been set throughout in their culture for centuries, and they refuse to let it go. They bake it into their children, and that the only way they can achieve any form of immortality is to have strong offspring and to have a strong family tree. That's their only sense of immortality, or even an afterlife, is through their children. But a lot of dragons, in order to create these stronger children, well, by human standards, they abuse them. They they beat them. Not like my dad. My dad doesn't do that, but not as bad. But they are much worse. If you guys have ever seen 300, it's kind of like that, but much worse. They basically want to create a child that can eventually grow to be strong enough to overtake them and kill them and take their horde. So a lot of dragons don't die of old age. They are killed by their offspring. Lore dragons, we're not like that. We've long since abandoned the need for that, but we can't affect centuries upon centuries of cultural abuse overnight. We're working on it. So I'd have to say, with my own biased opinion, that lore dragons in my section of the cosmos are probably the best to have to be friends with, because at least you have a chance. You have a chance to be friends with the lore dragon.
They certainly sound more willing than those that are more focused upon physical prowess and power, and
it's a lot to do with money.
Interpersonal family struggle, yeah.
A lot to do with money.
Yeah.
They like to live in as much luxury as possible because, as I said, they think this is the only life that they get. So they think the best and most worthwhile virtue is to be as wealthy and comfortable as possible. But lore dragons have long since found that knowledge and wisdom is a much greater form of currency, much greater thing to earn, because it can't be taken from you. Once you learn something, it's yours as long as you can remember it. And we got good memories as lore dragons. At least we like to pretend we do.
I would say no judgment toward those other dragons and their choices, but it does sound like sad existence to be creating one's own tomb for one's children to bury one in.
Yeah, it's rough, and I'm hoping that one day, dragons can wise up, because right now I don't see it happening. The world as itself needs to evolve a little bit more before at least in my neck of the woods, in my neck of the multiverse, before other dragons are ready to, well, follow suit. But
Well, dragons have found their way, so perhaps others will eventually find their own way or even follow a similar path.
I hope so, because there's so few dragons left. It's kind of hard to sustain a population whenever you only have one kid at a time and they have to kill you. And once they reach adulthood, it's like you can only have one existing generation at a time, and it's very strange. And honestly, if evolution is evolution's a real thing, we've learned that as Lord Dragons. I think we'll overtake them just in population, if nothing else, because they'll, if they keep down this path, there'll be, I'm probably one of the only dragons for hundreds of miles that has two existing children. In fact, they may be the only dragons in existence right now who actually have a grandfather. That's weird.
Sibling.
That's very weird to think about. At least when I tell that to humans, they're like, what? But yeah, it's true.
I can imagine that would create hardship in terms of passing along wisdom as well.
Yes, it can be. They can't really talk with their peers, and like I said, a lot, unless they're also Lord Dragons, because they're dangerous. And like I said, it's dangerous to talk to them right now. We don't really have the means to restrain our dragon peers, because turns out being a scholar is great, but they are bigger than us. They're tougher than us. For now. But anyways, let's see. We've got ourselves another question. This is for you, Vivika. You from Goblin Paladin Rosalia.
Yeah. Hello.
You mentioned about how you can't help somebody that doesn't want the help. Have you ever met somebody who might have been super far gone but wanted to change and did? I hope that makes sense. Like basically a super success story.
Yes. So I will leave out any defining characteristics for privacy.
Naturally.
But there have been situations where a person felt that they had given up on themselves. They felt too far gone. And their interactions would keep becoming more and more distressing to those around them, to the point where they had isolated themselves from most people. There was only one person left for them to interact with on a regular basis in any sort of way with any kind of depth, I would say. And this person was becoming increasingly afraid for them. And so what they did was they sought help to craft a message to convey their feelings to their friend in a way that would not be confronting, would not be a conflict, but it would be earnestly saying, these are my concerns, this is what I'm worried about, and I see this pattern and you're deteriorating. And they listened, and they have since begun to make steps to change. It's not clear where they'll end up eventually, but they were reached. I can't say whether they will be able to get all the support that they need and access everything that they need, but they at least know now that someone recognizes their pain and says, this is not the way that it has to be. You deserve help. And they accepted that at least, their behavior was starting to isolate the last person that they could reliably communicate with. So I would say that's a wonderful success story, because there are people that don't listen or can't listen when that situation arises, and people that can't communicate and can't reach out, and they just say, this is too much, and everyone just goes their ways, and then the person continues down that path. So to me, that was a massive, amazing victory, but we'll see how many more victories are required for them to get to a place where they feel that they're really in a good spot.
That's such a good story. I'm really happy for them.
I'm hopeful, very hopeful.
Oh, let's see. Ooh, here's one from a fellow mage. Shannon May. Good friend of the show. She helped recreate my wife after I accidentally turned her invisible.
Oh dear.
We had to restructure her, but I turned her so invisible that she literally completely disappeared. So
wow.
We had to use color magic to bring her back, one inch at a time, and now she has a new body, and it's beautiful, and I love it. Anyways, Smay asks, what is the silliest thing that you've been called to help with? I know you don't judge, but perhaps something that both you and them have giggled about afterwards.
Well, I suppose this one is a little personal. I hope Vent won't mind me telling the story. My cat Vivian, our cat, she is very curious, and she likes to get into high up places. There is a closet in one of the rooms in the tower where she can jump up from either climbing the clothing that's hanging in the closet or from a dresser nearby. And when she gets up there, often she doesn't want to get down again. So Vent will go over and try to pick her up, and then she will claw onto whatever's in the closet and grip and meow and complain. However, Vivian, my cat, and I have an understanding. So I bring a chair over, I place it in front of the wardrobe, and I stand on it, and then I pat my shoulder, and she hops on, and then we get down. So it's trivial because we have that relationship, we have that trust, we have that habit. But it wasn't easy for Vent. So in terms of silliness, I suppose it can seem silly, but I feel like there's a deeper work in there that I did build up that habit with my cat, so she understands what I mean when I pat my shoulder and stand steady for her to climb on.
That's beautiful. We have currently 6 cats that kind of wander the lore cave here these days, and they all have their own very unique personalities, but there's one in particular, the one that hangs out in this room with me most of the time. His name is Flippy, and Nessie, that was Nessie's cat before we got married and moved in together. She, or Flippy, we call him that because he's a little special. His eyes are permanently crossed. Big blue eyes, permanently crossed.
Oh.
And Nessie raised him like a dog, you know, like teaching him how to fetch, getting him really comfortable with belly rubs right before then. And whenever she whistles, he comes and he sits and he rolls over on command. It's all this whole thing. So it's like a cat that's become a dog, and I think a lot of that comes from that same, like you said, that same level of trust. To some extent. Love cats.
Lovely. Trust and attention. Yeah, you can really build amazing bonds with cats if you put in the time and the effort and the patience. They require a lot of patience. But yeah, some people will be like, this is a dog behavior. I'm like, no, this is just what a cat is possible, how they can possibly be if you invest that trust and that time and that love, that genuine patience, and then they can give you these kind of sides of themselves.
Yeah, it is true. Flippy's living proof of that. Oh yeah, and Smay also says, Laura, I'm so proud of you. You asked for help. Thank you.
It is hard. It is hard to ask for help.
It is hard. It's a pride thing. It's a pride thing on my part. Let's see. This is from Philosopher of the Moon. My friend, you seem tired. This is kind of long. Sorry, I have a struggle. I struggle reading big paragraphs. My friend, you seem tired. Have you been touched by such impressive rains? I think this is like a poem. Oh, there's
wants to read it.
There's Flippy right now. He literally just jumped straight into my lap and started screaming into the microphone at full volume.
Hello, Flippy.
He likes to sing. He does like he needs the world to know that he is here, that he exists.
Beautiful.
I think it's. I'm sorry. I like I said, I struggle. I'm a little dyslexic, but I struggle with big
Oh,
paragraphs.
me too.
They're very.
Me too. Do you want me to read it for you? Then you can just comprehend it while I read it?
Yes, yes, please. It's just
Team
really
effort.
far away.
All right. Let's go. My friend, you seem tired. Have you been touched by such impressive rains? Snug so pretty in these blankets of clouds they give to you? The blue of the skies will be proud to have such magnificence in their crowd. Cry with joy, the skies will, with impressive rain, painting the ground with water and calm-like things. For you, bring in the wings of these impressive rains of spring. Let beauty and all of these gorgeous beings sing so lovely, attractive even to the hearts of everything.
I wish I could have read that. I'm sorry.
It takes effort. I struggle too.
It's just the way that I have my setup right now. Is like the chat is usually on the screen, and I have it projected onto my TV so I can see it in like really big letters. But I don't have that right now because we're doing the dinner setup, so I have to like look at it on a tiny screen. And
Understandable.
Yeah, a lot going on. But thank you. That was really lovely.
You're welcome.
Let's see.
Thank you for the comment, Philosopher of the Moon.
Let's see. Here's one from Orion Blaze. Have either of you ever had visitors from other parts of the multiverse? So as I guess you're usually the visitor, but has anyone ever visited you?
Yes, the doors to my mage tower are always open for those who would wish to visit. I have met various creatures, some creatures from outside of the planet, outer space. Many different creatures do seem to coalesce, particularly on Twitch, and I'm sure there are many on YouTube as well. So, yes, I would say I definitely have, and I look forward to meeting more.
And I guess if anyone's been around my channel long enough, you'll know that the lore cave exists everywhere, and we have visitors from all over the place. Sometimes I abduct them myself. So yes.
Yeah.
I have learned that's not okay. I won't do that again. But I didn't know how to get visitors before, other than to abduct them. I didn't know they could just walk in here. My first visitor, actually, I just like pulled in magically, and they were very confused. And we have since reconciled. But my second visitor just walked in here. Didn't even know you could do that from another universe, but here we are.
I'm glad that it's starting to work out for you.
Let's see. Here's one for both of us from Goblin Paladin Rosalia again. To both of y'all, have you ever met and helped any goblins or lampads during your lives? Kind of riding on Orion's question here. Just want to see how my multiversal kin are doing, you know? Fair enough. But yeah, I've talked with goblins before. Shannon May was actually my first encounter with a goblin in person, and it left quite an impression. What about you, Vivi?
Yes, there are creatures known as goblins in many worlds, and they take various forms. I'm open to helping anyone who would accept my help. So yes, I have definitely had encounters with them. There's a goblin VTuber that I appreciate a lot on Twitch, besides Shannon, who's also wonderful. Honey Goblin. She's got a very calming vibe as well, and I will send my magelings over to visit her sometimes after my streams. But yeah, there are many goblin creatures all over the worlds, and I have to say that I'm not really sure where some of the characterization of them has come from, because they've all been very sweet and accommodating and quite clever whenever I've encountered them. So
it's anti-goblin propaganda.
Perhaps.
Like I said, I've never had a bad encounter with a goblin, so I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. No idea. Had more bad encounters with dragons than I had with goblins.
So that may be related to the number of encounters. You've probably spoken with more dragons than goblins, I would bet.
That's true. I need to remedy that. I need to talk with more goblins. I blame bad
marketing in the
marketing.
1930s.
Yeah, like I said, bad goblin propaganda.
Okay, PSA. Goblins are great. There you go. We ended it.
we're gonna single-handedly fix that right now. Goblin Coalition. Let's see. We'll let some questions build up, but in the meantime, let's see. Here's a really good one I really like. What is one thing you've been dying for your audience to ask you?
This is an interesting one. Part of what I like about getting to know people is learning what interests them. I did when I started streaming, I didn't have any way for people to contact me anonymously. But I did eventually open a Curious Cat profile for people to submit suggestions for buff topics.
Buff topics?
For the weekly buff. So it's a short video I make every week regarding a topic, either suggested by someone, one of my magelings, or selected by myself. And so people can make suggestions there for those topics. They can ask me questions. They can even ask for advice, with the understanding that I'm but one life mage and I only have my life experience to draw from. And I found that it's very interesting to see the kinds of questions that they wish to ask. And once they have that anonymity, they don't have to link the question to their pseudonym on their Twitch chat or Twitter or what have you. They do seem to be feeling more at ease with asking questions that might be something they're more struggling with, something with philosophical depth, or something they think might be controversial if they were to talk about it publicly with their pseudonym attached. So in terms of what I want them to ask me the most is what they want to ask. I know that might be a bit cyclical, but that's genuinely what I'm most interested in is what they want to talk about, because I've been amazed at how deep and fascinating all of their questions have been. So
I guess to paraphrase, it would be what you're dying for your audience to ask you is anything, and you're basically saying you're saying don't be afraid to ask me anything is kind of the answer I'm getting, to paraphrase.
Yes, any question that is asked with genuine curiosity, genuine interest, and of course understanding that, I'm human, I have boundaries and things like that. So of course I'm not going to ask very invasive questions, but any question that is from a place of wishing to genuinely understand or wishing to understand my perspective, absolutely, those questions are all welcome.
Okay. That's really a cool thing that you do there. Like I've seen it pop up on your feed every now and again. I guess I haven't watched all of them or anything, but I do try to tune in whenever I can.
Yeah, we started to do a couple of times reading some of the questions and answers on stream and talking about them, and that went quite well. So we might do that at regular intervals again. So I know not everyone is, trolling Curious Cat or even looking at my Twitter where I share them sometimes. So having another way to provide those topics to people without having to wait a whole week to get the buff, because we can cover several questions and answers in one stream versus the buff, which is just one topic. Of course, when we're talking about the buff, we talk about whatever comes up, but yeah, it's a little more broad, so it can cover more.
That's a good way to put it. That way you can have more of your audience across all platforms receive to get the message.
Exactly. Yes.
Let's see. Here's one. Here's a pretty surface level one. Really easy one. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, I would probably have to say The Princess Bride. The book was also very good. I love the flow translation of it.
It's good. It's a good movie. It's pretty hard to find someone who hasn't at least seen it or heard of it or know the memes. It's kind of like SpongeBob,
Yeah.
you know. It's a meme farm. It'll
Definitely.
immortalized in memes. I don't imagine that this would be a question that you would answer because you're a very positive person. But what about your least favorite movie?
Okay. So I admit, Moonvale Vent, my apprentice, did take me to see the SpongeBob movie, and I was quite bored.
Which one? Like,
The one with David Hasselhoff in it.
no,
Yes, I'm sorry.
no.
It's not my type of humor, I'm afraid.
But I'm a goofy goober. Just go. Just go.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I guess you just have to grow up in it. No, and that movie came out when I was just a little kid, and it was one of my favorite songs to play on repeat. Was the rock and roll version of "I'm a Goofy Goober." It's something me and my sister bonded over.
Oh, that's sweet. Not to yuck anyone's yum. If you enjoy it, that's wonderful. But personally, it wasn't to my taste, unfortunately.
Shannon says, yeah, that is your hottest take. That one.
Oh no.
There, now we know. The mystery. The greatest Vivika controversy. Let's see. I expect an apology video. Let's see. Here's a fun one too. What would be the coolest animal to scale up to the size of a horse?
It's an easy one. I recently had Vivian's form as my steed depicted even. I don't know if you saw that.
Say what again?
Vivian, my familiar.
Oh yeah, scaled up to the size of a horse.
As my steed, yeah.
Wow. Oh yeah, that. Cute. See, I thought that is pretty cool. I love. Anything cat related. But there was something else I would wanted to have scaled up to the size of a horse. Oh yeah, a chicken. Either a chicken or another ostrich-like animal, you know, because like emus are pretty big, but they're not really horse scale, you know. I want an emu or a chicken or something that is so big that you can ride it like a horse.
So you want a moa?
What's a moa?
So a moa, it's MOA. That's how you spell it. They were giant birds in New Zealand that became extinct when humans migrated there because they were big and slow and easy to hunt.
Damn. Really?
Yes, they were giant two-legged flightless birds.
Can't have nothing nice because of humans. I hope y'all are happy.
I guess they were just too tempting.
I guess so. Instead of riding these beautiful, majestic creatures, you killed them.
I mean, they were still birds, so I'm not entirely sure if they would have been able to carry the weight of a dragon. But if we can scale them magically and enhance their bones, perhaps.
I guess. It's a lingering dream of mine to become human one day. But living the life of a dragon, it's great if you value strength and power and wealth. But when you want to read, it's hard to read. It's hard enough for me to read as is. But whenever books are as big as your fingernails, it's tough. It's hard to cook. It's hard. I can't sword fight. They don't make swords as big as me. So I want to become a human. Or at least human in dimension. That'd be convenient. Not forever, but you know, I'm not very good at magic, so it's one of those things I'm gonna have to work towards.
Yeah, anything anything is possible if we put our minds to it and get the right guidance.
Let's see. Trying to looking back in chat for a second. So I'm catching up.
Problem. Take your time.
I'm Goblin Paladin. Okay, Vin, I'll make a terrible movie and get it in some indie movie theater. Then you can watch it. Problem solved. That's what we'll do. Cute. Okay, how about this question? Let's see. So I asked that one. Which body part do you wish you could detach and reattach at will, and why? I always get funny answers with this one.
Well, it's an unfortunate reality that I do often struggle with migraines. So sometimes I do feel like it would be nice if I could detach my head and just put it somewhere comfortable in the dark while my body continued on with my duties, but I know that's not very practical and it might be quite frightening to see a headless wildlife mage walking around.
See, I usually tell people my fingernails, and the reason I say that is because I can't quite get them clean, or at least it feels like I can't quite get them clean, because like I'm using my fingers to clean my fingers. So if I could take my fingernails off, put them in like a little cup and wash them, and then put them back on, painlessly, of course, that would be ideal. It'd make my life just a little bit easier.
Deep cleanse. It would be convenient.
Perfect. Let's see. All right, now this one is going to be very interesting coming from a life mage, but if you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends and family assume that you have done?
Probably incited the abolishment of a monarchy.
Okay, based. I'll take that. I would believe that. Like if she was arrested for toppling authoritarian government. Like, all right, yeah. Just another day for Mage Vivika.
And sometimes.
based Vivika. Nice. All right, y'all. We're getting pretty close to wrapping this up. Do you guys have any more questions you'd have for the wonderful life mage here? I'm running to the end of my list.
There are no stupid questions, only judgmental answers. And I get none of those.
Perfect. That's a good way to put it too. Like, there's only judgmental answers. Lovely. And of course, Vivika, you can also ask questions yourself if you want the chat to answer them. Very three-way conversation we're having here. Let's see, here's one from Orion again. Can I train in magic?
Certainly. You are most likely physically capable of training. All it requires is someone or some way to communicate the knowledge. So if you have access to the ability to read, you can read it from books. If you have a mentor who can communicate with you effectively, you can learn from them. I truly believe that words are powerful and there is magic in words. So if you are asking me this question, that means you know some words. So you already know some power. You already have some magic. And you can always build on it.
How about that? Okay, this one's for both of us. Is there a food you don't like but you wish that you did? I'll let you go first.
Food that I don't like, but I wish I did. Kimchi. I really like sauerkraut, but for some reason, the spiciness of kimchi, even though I like spicy food, it doesn't quite appeal to me. I like complex spice, so things like Indian curry and things with dimension, so like smoky heat, that kind of thing. But if it's just straight like Frank's hot sauce style, just very hot, it's not pleasant to me. It just tastes like pain. So yeah, unfortunately, I would love to like kimchi, but I haven't been able to develop a taste for it. Maybe I'll keep trying.
I guess I've never heard of kimchi.
It's basically Korean sauerkraut, hot version.
I do like
not
spicy
hot
food.
as in hot and spicy, not like heated. It's still chilled.
Oh, okay. What would be something? Oh, I know. I wish that I liked vegetables. I really do. I wish that I liked vegetables because I don't know what it is. Maybe I never grew out of it as a kid, but I can't stand the texture or taste of vegetables in most of their forms, whether they be cooked, raw, or whatever. The only vegetable that I can really eat is peppers because they're spicy. And even then, I can't eat a ton of those because I'll die because they're peppers. And jalapenos and pickles. I guess I don't know if that counts. I eat a lot of pickles. But I really wish I liked... I wish I liked broccoli and spinach and salad and stuff because I need that, for a balanced diet to be healthy. But I just can't. I don't know. I just can't stomach it.
Something that I find interesting about food aversions is there are people that have like medical level issues with textures and flavors and things like that. There's a condition called ARFID, which is basically a severe food aversion. But you can always change the texture of things. So with broccoli, you can have it raw with like hummus. That makes it very crunchy. You can steam it so it's a little bit soft. You can boil the hell out of it so it's mush. You can boil it until you can puree it into a soup. There's so many options. You can change the texture. You can even adjust the flavor, adding salt, even when you're starting out to try to get the taste for a certain vegetable, you can add like a cheese sauce or melted cheese, like things to work your way into liking things. So I feel like there's so much flexibility, but it does take that effort to try the different types of preparation and different maybe even cultural like sauces or spices and things like that.
I'll have to see how my mom...
Roasted broccoli.
My mom used to prepare it like in a certain way and put it into burritos. So it was like she would hide it. Like that's how she got me to eat vegetables. Is she would hide it, and she would hide it in ground meat, or she would like I'm a puppy, pup trying to feed me medicine.
Yeah, that can be an accessible way. Another way I really like broccoli is tossed with sliced garlic and salt and pepper and a little bit of oil, like olive oil or something, and then roast it. That's really good as well. It's a little more crunchy than steaming or boiling, but it gives a little bit of a caramelization as well, which I really love caramelized stuff, and roasted garlic is just amazing. So it also helps with that flavor profile. Yeah,
I know. I like to. That's why I use magic to cook. There's probably vegetables in this curry, and I just didn't even know it.
Definitely at least tomato. That's what makes it orange.
Oh, you know what? That is a vegetable. Is that a vegetable? I can't remember anymore. Is Pluto a planet?
Well, technically tomatoes are fruit, but culinarily we treat them like vegetables. There's probably also garlic and onion in it as well.
I like bell peppers. That's true. I do like bell peppers, but they're expensive.
Yeah, they can be pricey.
Yeah. Figures. Oh. Can I pet you, Lord Dragon? At least you asked. Most of the time people just jump into chat and they're like petting. I'm like, come on, guys. Come on.
Scent is important even for dragons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for dragons. You don't want your hand bitten off.
Oh, yeah. You only got to get your hand bit off once. All right, everybody. I think we're coming close to the end here. You guys have been a wonderful audience, and Vivika, you've been a wonderful guest. Do you have any other wisdom you'd like to share?
I suppose I would just say that it's never wrong to be kind to yourself, and you should never be ashamed if you're kind to others and they don't repay it or they seem to not deserve it, because being kind to them is being kind to yourself. And yeah, there's no shame in that. There's no need to feel responsible if people wrong you despite your best efforts. That's on them. You can't control what they do. You can only be proud of your own behavior and your own actions. So please be kind to yourself, most especially.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Wonderful. Well, everyone, make sure to go follow Mage Vivika on all of her channels. I believe you have a YouTube channel by the same name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do. It doesn't have a custom URL or anything, but yeah, it's linked on my Twitch, so you can just go straight through from there. I have two, one's for VODs, one's for my weekly buffs, but the weekly buff one is the one that we're consistently posting to at this time.
All right, good to know. Is there anything else you'd like to plug?
I guess the weekly buff.
Just the weekly buff?
So tomorrow we'll have another one out. We post it on the YouTube, on the Twitter, and also we will show it on Monday stream, and then we can chat about the topic. And I haven't decided the topic yet, but I will be selecting from the list of suggestions that I have already gathered from all of my lovely magelings. So
awesome. All right, guys, we'll definitely see you guys again next time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And like Vivika said, make sure to love yourself, love your neighbor, and yeah, we'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful day.